tell us more about this resolution you're going to put forth and why you think it's necessary. Do you have real fears here that President Trump would pardon someone, Ghislaine Maxwell, linked to these rings of, as we need to keep in mind, pedophilia?
Absolutely. I think that he's dangling the pardon to potentially get her to either fabricate testimony or to conveniently forget other parts of what has happened with Jeffrey Epstein. That might help inform why his lawyer, Todd Blanche, the #2 at the Justice Department, interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell for days. And I think that right now, what I'm very concerned about is that Trump is not willing to say that he's not going to pardon her. And he keeps reaffirming that he would like to, even though the vast majority of the American people oppose any kind of clemency, pardon, or commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell, given her just heinous crimes.
Congressman Mark Leibovich here in Washington. I'm curious, what would this resolution do? I mean, if it passes, I mean, would this obviously wouldn't be binding. I mean, Donald Trump would probably say, I still have a right to do it. And if he wants to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, he could. I mean, what would you, was this just to sort of add teeth to, or at least get people, your colleagues on the record here to, just sort of come out against this if it happens?
That's right. I think that it's really important for Donald Trump to hear that the American people, through their representatives, don't want him to pardon and potentially cover up what's happening with Jeffrey Epstein. I think that a lot of my Republican colleagues have said as much privately and certainly some publicly, but we need to get everyone on the record on this.
So, Congressman, let's get your take on the debate we were just having. What should Democrats be talking about right now, particularly in August, heading home for recess? You on the campaign trail for Senate. What do your potential constituents want to be discussing? Epstein or the Republican legislation that's now the law of the land?
I think both. I think we have to walk and chew gum on this. On the one hand, the vast majority of my constituents, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, want sunshine and transparency with regard to the Epstein files. And on the other hand, they also want that because it is basically standing in the way of Congress doing the other legislative business that they want. So many of them are upset right now with regard to the tariff situation. I just visited with a bunch of small businesses in Illinois who are basically have been rocked by the tariffs to the point where they were going gangbusters as of March 31st. And then April 1st on Liberation Day, their business was devastated and they're laying people off. I think we as Democrats have to connect this betrayal of trust and lack of accountability with regard to the Epstein files to the betrayal of trust with regard to the economy and other matters as well.
In this country at the expense of others. I think they can also talk about increased costs and tariffs. But here's the thing, Joe, they need to get Republicans to vote on this stuff around Epstein. And the idea that there are Republicans right now trying to clean up Maxwell's image. I mean, let's be clear what Maxwell is. Maxwell is a convicted, lying, sexual predator of children. That's what she is. And she not only she's the one who recruited the young lady from the teenager from Mar-a-Lago. It wasn't Jeffrey Epstein that recruited the woman who committed suicide last year. It was Maxwell. She was the one who recruited him. And in some of these instances, I'm going to be not graphic, but kind of graphic. She's the one who removed these girls' panties for Jeffrey Epstein to have his way with them. So the idea that they're trying to somehow use her to clean up Trump's image around this, I believe is really going to backfire on them. So the Democrats need to force Republicans to vote on these issues, because I think these issues have really penetrated not just Democratic voters, but independent voters and, frankly, even the MAGA base. Politically, it's smart for them to stay on it.
Well, I mean, I think just my instinct, if I were going home to the district for August recess, I would be hammering night and day on the bill, talking about how my constituents' health care is going to be gutted, their children's ability to get the care they need, their parents' ability to get the care they need, gutted by this bill, and billionaires were the ones that were going to profit off of that extra money. You're also going to be having, of course, tech giants, tech moguls that run monopolies that were going to be able to benefit from this bill. The tax cuts for the richest, that all seems to me, if Democrats can figure out how to hammer that point home, they've been handed this political gift, because Americans are going to be hurt in so many different ways by the passage of this bill. And on the issue that I campaigned on and stayed on in Congress, they've just exploded the debt by another $4 trillion, $20 trillion over the next decade. That's a crisis for every single American. But in the background, yeah, just tweak on your Republican opponent who is talking about the Epstein files for years. For years, it's the Democrats covering it up. For years, it's Biden covering up. It's Merrick Garland covering up. It's Hillary covering up. All these crazy conspiracy theories. That would be a lot of fun. And it would also be very revealing to constituents what a liar that Republican congressman or congresswoman was. And what a hypocrite, that they were willing to gin up false conspiracy theories about Democrats, but the second a Republican's in the White House and tells them to stop, they suddenly go silent and say nothing to see here, move along, move along.
Yeah, and frankly, the reason he adjourned, Johnson adjourned when he did, is he didn't want to have votes on this subject.
Right.
He's not going to be able to avoid it. There are going to be votes on this subject in both houses, both in the Senate and in the House. And the people who vote, those votes will be remembered by people who do digital ads and make TV ads, and they will be blasted next year, the first part of November, especially if they play games and try to get Maxwell, let her out of prison if she says good things about Donald Trump and indicts others who were involved in this sordid affair.
And I mean, and Kathy, I guess that would be my lead. Hey, it's great to be here at the town hall meeting. It's wonderful seeing all of you. Of course, it's great being home to see my family. I wouldn't be here, but the fact that they shut down the People's House because Mike Johnson was afraid we were going to take a vote on letting you see what was inside the Epstein files. That's a pretty good lead, right?
Yeah, and I think you're right. You tweak them, right? You use it as a way to tweak your opponent who has been talking about the Epstein files, specifically if you have an opponent who's raised it in the past. That's a good one to lead with. But it's interesting to see, Joe, I mean, to your point earlier, you now have several Democrats.
This morning, we're standing by to hear from the House Oversight Committee after Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted of conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors, after she and her attorneys are putting all kinds of conditions on possible testimony to that committee, including immunity. The committee's initial reaction, no, but we're expecting to hear more. Let's get right to CNN's Caitlin Polance in Washington. And Caitlin, I have to say, hearing from Maxwell's attorney, they sound like they think they're in the driver's seat here.
They certainly are approaching this as a negotiation where they have a fair amount of leverage. So Ghislaine Maxwell, John, she is willing to talk. That's what her attorney is saying. But is Congress actually wanting to hear from her, given the demands that her attorneys are laying out? According to a letter obtained by our own Caitlin Collins yesterday, the conditions, her attorney said, in response to this congressional subpoena, she was going to take the fifth. But if they want to actually hear from her, what she has to say, she wants a grant of formal immunity. She also wants the House Oversight Committee's questions in advance. In addition to that, she is asking for a delay for whenever she would come to talk to Congress, because she also, in her criminal conviction, is asking for help from the Supreme Court. She wants that resolved. That could be months from now. Her attorney also wrote in this letter, in response to the House Oversight Committee's subpoena, compounding these concerns are public comments from members of Congress that appear to have prejudged Ms. Maxwell's credibility without even listening to what she has to say or evaluating the extensive documentation that corroborates it. There's also, at the end of this letter, a suggestion that if President Donald Trump were to remove all of her legal risk with clemency, that's a pardon, then she would be willing to talk very openly with Congress. It's all on the table. Trump responded yesterday that nobody has approached him with it. Right now, it would be inappropriate to talk about it. So now we see what else happens. Ghislaine Maxwell still unclear exactly what she would have to offer if she talked, and she is still serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison in Florida.
Yeah, the non-answer from the president, an answer in itself when he refuses to rule out, granting a pardon or commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell. Caitlin Polantz in Washington watching this for us. Thank you very much. With us now, former campaign manager for Marco Rubio's presidential campaign and partner for Firehouse Strategies, Terry Sullivan, and Democratic strategist and president of New Heights Communications, Christy Setzer. And I actually want to do something a little different than people have been doing in the weeks that people have really been focused anew on the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. I want to focus on the victims for a second here, because last night I spoke with Randy Kogan, who is a trauma therapist who has spoken to these victims for decades now. And she's very concerned about some of the language being used, particularly what she heard from the president yesterday in regards to Virginia Giuffre, who worked at the spa in Mar-a-Lago. President Trump said of Jeffrey Epstein, he stole her. And this trauma therapist was concerned about that language. Listen.
That's exactly the kind of language I'm talking about. It dehumanizes these women. They have been trying to heal for 18 years. And every time they're on the road to recovery, something new comes out in the news. Something new, a meme in social media, a skit on a TV show, or a stand-up comedian bringing up Epstein. It's everywhere. So when they hear the fact that they're not being humanized, even...
Let's be very clear. Democrats are finally making some moves in Congress. Not all of them. Some of them are still stuck in this idea that they need to protect the people on the list. Let's be clear, because millionaires and billionaires are on the list, and a lot of corporate Democrats, their constituents are not the people that voted for them, but millionaires and billionaires, right? And there are some rumors that a former Democratic president is on the list, so some Democrats might want to protect them. But increasingly, some Democrats are actually trying to make moves, whether it's moves in cooperation with Republicans, yes, but necessarily so given the balance of power, but to either open up documents that Trump doesn't want you to see, basically taking away some control from him by doing independent investigations into this that would sort of stymie Trump's move, but also, as you see, to basically make official moves against Trump's decisions in this case. Either blocking some of those moves, or where we're not possible to block them, increase the political capital Trump has to spend to make those moves by putting pressure in other areas. And so Democrats are finally doing this. They finally realize that you gotta play politics. You gotta actually play politics. Trump has a weakness here, and you have to exploit that weakness. Republicans do this all the time. There's a reason why they win, even though their policies are historically unpopular, right? People don't want what the Republicans are offering, especially on when they're honest about what they want to do, right? Like, if Trump didn't run on Project 2025 explicitly, we knew he was going to do it, but he said, I'm not doing it, because if he said, oh yeah, this is my platform, he would have lost. Simple as that, right? And so Democrats are finally seizing the moment. They need to do more, but they're finally starting.